Welcome to another episode of Naturalist F. I'm your host, Dr. Ferrante Frazier, and we have a wonderful topic that we're going to be talking on today because so many people are suffering from health issues that stemming from their digestion and how they digest food or their inability to digest food properly. A lot of the distress they're getting is in the chest, they're getting indigestion, they have an acid reflux, uh, where they even spitting back up acid and bile. So we're going to talk on some of the causes behind the acid reflux, the heartburn, the indigestion, and give you some valuable techniques and principles that you can follow to remove that out of your life where you can get away from the Tums, the Rolaids or whatever so-called remedies they have out there now to help with digestion. You can even get off some of the aids such as digestive enzymes. They think that's natural. They tell you to go and get the natural enzymes, but you don't even have to take any of that. We're going to show you what some of the causes are, and there are many causes to this. Now, I'm not a medical doctor. I am a holistic practitioner. Nothing in my teachings will be about taking any medicines, herbs, or remedies. I'm going to teach you a lifestyle that will promote health in the individual and prevent sickness in the individual, provided they follow these conditions for health. Those conditions we talk about every week on all our shows. We're here every Tuesday at 6 o'clock. We want to thank the Our Black Media platform. You can follow them, hit like and share, where you can hear and get notified of our videos when we are live. They have many other topics and shows that are relevant in this day and time, especially to the Black community and to the worldwide, some of the shows. So make sure you tune in and hit like and share. Share with all your family and friends because you don't want, when you find treasure that you can't consume all. Let's say that you found this this treasure hole of nothing but gold and all type of precious metals. The more you take, the more it produce. So you can never. It would be useless for you just to keep it for yourself because you can never get all of it. So imagine if you had information that not only could help you but can help all of mankind. You don't want to keep it for yourself. You want to share it with the world around you. So this is that type of information. Information on how to restore the human body back to health without the use of medicines, without the use of herbs, without the use of remedies, no surgeries involved, or none of the so-called uh, um, curing so-called modalities. None of that is necessary in the teachings that we're teaching. We found that pure gold, you know, that pot that has nothing but pure gold in there, and the more you take from it, the more it produces. And it's free to everyone to dig their hand in there and retain all the precious materials from it. And that part of gold we call natural hygiene. Natural hygiene is a science that if anyone apply it to their life, they will see their body repairing itself and it will help prevent their body from breaking down. So I'm just telling you, we're going to constantly share this information, all the information that we were taught about natural hygiene and teach you so that you can apply it to your life. But like I said, make sure you tell your family and friends about this show, Natural is F, that we come on every Tuesday at 6 o'clock, and we're teaching the ways of health. So you want your sister to know about it if she's suffering from high blood issue, high sugar issues, lupus, autoimmune diseases, whatever the so-called issue that your sister suffering from. Why continuously see her suffer? Let her hear about this show and give her a chance to decide if she want to go down this holistic route and truly heal. If it's your brother that's suffering from something, if it's a cousin that's suffering from something, if it's an uncle, an auntie, mama, daddy, grandmama, granddaddy, friend, an enemy, who cares who they is? If they are human, a human organism, and they're suffering, why not teach them or allow them to hear the teachings of natural hygiene to allow their body to restore itself back to health? All right, so with that being said, we're going to get started on teaching. So make sure you have a paper and pen where I want you to be able to keep notes as we're talking about some principles that will help, stop the indigestion, can stop the heartburn, and can stop, the acid reflux that we're suffering from, which they usually most times are considered to be the same thing. All right. Now, it can be a genetic problem or not really too much genetic. It could be an actual anatomy situation where your body is going to constantly have a burning sensation upon you laying down after you eat some food. It could very well be something as much as a hernia. Now, they got a hernia, well, not they, but the body sometimes forms a hernia in the hiatal canal. Now, the hiatal canal is a canal that allows the esophagus to go through the diaphragm, which is a big muscle that controls the breathing. You know, that's why a lot of people say diaphragmic breathing. All right. So the diaphragm sits right up under here, and the stomach is right up under there. And from the stomach, the esophagus goes through the diaphragm through a hiatal canal up to our throat and out to our mouth. All right. Now, a hiatal hernia is when some of the stomach gets pulled up into that hiatal canal. All right. That's why they call it a hiatal hernia. If it's an inguinal hernia, it would be in the inguinal canal. That's more around the pelvic region. All right. Then you have the abdominal hernia and these different hernias. But we're only focused on this one. We'll do a show later on if we want to be educated more about hernias and their reversal without using the medicines, without using, and they got a bunch of recall on different things on the patches for the hernia and stuff like that. So we want to, those who suffering, we want to make sure that they know that there's a way to correct that without having to go the medical way. Even those extraniated hernias, you can have that corrected as well on how to reduce the hernia without it's causing you problem, or you extrangulating it and making it worse, deadening, and having a really bad problem. All right. So the hiatal hernia, most times they have this one that they call a sliding hiatal hernia. So it will go up into the hiatal canal, and if the stomach being one solid piece, and if piece go up in there, let's say this is the stomach, and let's say this is the hiatal canal, and if the esophagus sticks to it, but now sometimes the stomach goes into that hiatal canal, right, and it'll be stuck. Now it'll be stuck in there. Now you won't be able to eat much food. It's almost like putting a lap band on your stomach, like how a lot of people go to try to lose weight. They go and get lap band surgery where they put a band around their stomach, and they not only can put much food in there now, Most of those people are suffering from acid reflux and a bunch of other stuff, just like the person with a hiatal hernia. Some of the symptoms are very similar. So now the thing about it is that hiatal hernia is usually caused from those who are not breathing from their belly. If you do a lot of breathing from your chest and you don't breathe from your belly, your diaphragm tends to weaken. It's not as powerful and or it tends to atrophy, or it tends to become very lax, and that's how it allows the stomach to slide in and out of the hiatal canal. Now, a lot of times what push the stomach up into the hiatal canal is gas. When we're constantly having a bunch of gastritis going on in our stomach, gastric inflammation, a bunch of belching and passing of gas. Well, sometimes that gas get trapped in there and it pushes the stomach up into the hiatal canal, and that's what produces hernias as well. But it's not going to be the only thing that produces the hernia. It got to be a weak um, um, diaphragm at the same time. So it got to be gas and a weak diaphragm for it to create that problem. All right. And some of the stomach is up above the inside the hiatal canal, you got the sphincter muscle that open and close to allow food from the esophagus to go down into the stomach. But when it's up in the hiatal canal, that sphincter muscle, that open and door close, because that's what the sphincter muscle do, it opens and closes. Okay, so when food come in, it opens and allow food to come in, and then it closes back. All right. But if it's stuck, if the stomach is pinched up into the hiatal canal, then this sphincter muscle don't close all the way; it still be open. All right, and as some of the stomach is above there, it's gases and acid in there, and that acid is going on top of that sphincter muscle. So you're burning some of your esophagus at the bottom. That's that sensation that you're getting from that burning sensation. You gotta keep on doing that because you got to think about it. Some of the stomach is in there, is above the hiatal canal, and the sphincter muscle is down and it's wasting. That's when you have a chronic problem with acid burning. All right, most likely you have a hiatal hernia, and that sphincter muscle is not closing because when the stomach is down regular, that the gas is automatically going to close that sphincter muscle, or the acid is going to rise enough to keep it closed. All right. But when it's in that hiatal canal, it's going to be kept open because it can't close because it's pinched in there. So it can't close properly. So it's going to be a little bit open, and some of the acid is going to be leaking out of it and burning your esophagus. Now, another reason, without it being a hiatal hernia, you can have low acid in your stomach. Low acid in your stomach will also um, don't allow that sphincter muscle to close. Remember, I told you when you have a lot of acid in your stomach, the acid pushes up and it closes the sphincter muscle. But when the acid drop, the acid levels in the stomach drops, so will the sphincter muscle drop. All right, and if it's a little bit of acid in there and the sphincter muscle drop because it's not enough to keep it closed and shut, well, when you lay down, the acid is going to slide around it and burn. All right. So those are two simple ways. Well, not simple. Those are more anatomy situations that's going to cause indigestion, acid reflux. So you would want to get with someone who know how to, ask you questions and come up with what's causing your acid reflux, what's causing your indigestion, what's causing your heartburn. They ask you some questions that will determine if you got a hiatal hernia, determine if you got low acid in your stomach, and there are really easy checks to check those things, especially the low acid. Nothing but the belch test will show you how to check and see if your acid levels are low or weak, and what's causing you to have the bloating, the indigestion, and stuff like that. So that's something that you might want to get with a qualified health professional, such as a hygienic doctor, and let them. I don't think you want to go to a medical doctor. Now, you go to the medical doctor, they're gonna want to cut on you. They're gonna want to give you some pantoprazole or some other so-called acid blocking medicine. Some one of them so-called what you call them, I forgot the name they call those things. See, I don't mess with medicine, so I be done forgot the name of those things and all. We don't need those medications to correct our health issues. So the average person who's suffering with acid reflux, and this may sound crazy, we're told that acid reflux is because your body is producing so much acid, but that's not the case in 80 to 90% of the people who suffering with acid reflux. It's really that their body not producing enough acid, and that's what's producing the acid burning in the esophagus because the sphincter muscle won't close. It's crazy. But the thing about it is when you go and take Tums or anything like that, you take away all the acid in the stomach. The stomach start producing a bunch of acid, and it closes the sphincter muscle. But that is not fixing the problem, and you're going to be dependent on the Rolaids, the so-called Tums, and what other type of remedies they have out there. And so you're not going to fix the cause, and you're going to be dependent on those medications, and they're going to weaken your body, and they're poisonous. And after you do it for quite a long time, they can burn holes. It can cause ulcers in your stomach over a period of time, and calcify in your body and blood. Now, there is another thing that we're going to talk about when we come back from break. Now we're going to talk about food combining, and I'm going to get into that when we come back. So I want you to make sure that you have a paper and pen. We're going to shift from the anatomy and we're going to go to physiology. We're going to understand how the stomach works and how to properly combine our foods and eat foods in a manner where they can digest properly and not sit there ferment producing gases and causing all those anatomy defects that we talked about in the first part of the show. So we'll be right back after this break, and we'll be talking about food combination.
Have you ever experienced a Juneteenth event? Come out to Port Wentworth and celebrate our second annual Juneteenth Festival. Friday, June 21st from 5 p.m. until 9 p.m. Come enjoy our music, our food, our heritage, our culture, and our history. It will be plenty of fun for everyone. Juneteenth is American history. It's a day that we celebrate and remember. It's a day that we look back, but more importantly, a day that we look forward. Join us this June.
Hello, I'm Richard Coleman, and I'm running for the office of Sheriff of Chatham County. And when I'm elected, I promise to inspect what I expect. Chatham County, it's time for a change, and that change is me, Richard Coleman.
Thank you for sticking with us. I hope you got a paper and pen. We're going to talk a little bit about food combining. I'm going to give you a little bit of science here in nutrition about the human digestive tract. Um, so we're about to go back to school and learn a little science here. Um, a lot of it's going to make sense to you. You know, this is not too new, and I'm not going to be so scientific, but we're going to have to break down some words and share some new words with you where you can understand your body and you will see the purpose in eating in the manner that we're telling you. It will make sense to you. So there's going to be a couple of words that I want to define for you, and then we're going to go into the teachings. All right. The first word going to be digestion. All right, digestion. Digestion is the conversion of food into simple substances in preparation for its assimilation into the bloodstream. So, digestion is the breakdown of something complex into something simple so that it can be absorbed into the blood and then assimilated into animal flesh and bones or human flesh and bones. So we're going to eat something that is a whole, and when it goes into our stomach, it's going to be broken down into simple. It's like putting a whole Lego that's already put together, you breaking it back down into individual pieces of Lego. And then the body takes those individual pieces and make the structure it want to make out of the Legos. You know, the human tissue that it's made of. So it took something else that the tree made its Legos into an apple. Then you eat the apple, and then the body turns the Lego into something else. You know, it does that. The tree makes the banana into a Lego out of a banana, and then we break the banana back down into Legos, and then we build muscle, or we build blood cells or your brain cells or whatever the body deemed to use those Legos for. So digestion is the breakdown of complex stuff into simple stuff for the assimilation, the absorption and assimilation of the simple things to create and restructure itself. Enzyme. All right, the next word is enzyme. Enzyme is a substance that acts as a catalyst in the digestion of food. So now what that is saying that enzymes are a substance or a thing, a protein that comes and appears to actually make the transition from complex to simple. It acts to break, like it acts as a knife to chop all the complex things into individual pieces. Or it's that bad kid that come to the Lego and just start breaking the Legos down. That's what enzymes do. Enzymes is that bad kid that comes when you got your big structure up and he come there and just fall on the Legos and all the Legos become one little one single piece of Legos again. You say, oh, you done broke my structure all the way down. Well, that's what enzymes do. Enzymes break complex structures down into usable pieces that the body did, because the body can't use an apple in the form of an apple. The body can't use the banana in the form of the banana. It got to break down it into simple parts. It got to pull the vitamin A. It got to pull the vitamin B. It got to pull the calcium, the magnesium, and the potassium, and all the other so-called ingredients, macronutrients and micronutrients out of this food. You got to get the proteins. They got to get the carbohydrates. They got to get the fats. So it got to move all this stuff and put it apart from from each other. And then it's going to choose some from this, some from that, and make its own tissues and structures and whatever it deemed to do with the material. Next word is fermentation. Fermentation is the decomposition of carbohydrates, which are sugars and starches, and their conversion by microorganisms to poisonous substances. Now, we're going to break that down for you to understand as well. So, fermentation is what we see when people make beer or people make wine or anything like that. They ferment sugars, all right? People make kimchi. What they do, they ferment cabbage, potatoes, and different stuff like that, vegetables, you know. They ferment it. Now, fermentation is the decomposition. That means it's the breakdown of the starches and carbohydrates in, let's say, potatoes by microorganisms, not by enzymes, but by microorganisms. See, proper digestion is digested by enzymes. The enzymes make the complex stuff into usable stuff. Microorganisms break stuff down into unusable stuff, toxic stuff that then have to be eliminated out of the body. You never seen a fermentation of beer that is nutritious. No, all fermentation of liquids and stuff has an effect on the body as a negative effect, like they become, drunk or have some type of reaction to it, because the waste product of fermentation of foods is toxic. All right, so fermentation is the decomposition of sugars and starches, which are carbohydrates, by microorganisms into poisonous substances. Gastric. Anything when we're talking about gastric, we're talking is pertaining to the stomach. All gastric digestion is happening in the stomach. You got intestinal digestion, and that would be in the intestines, the small intestines. The large intestines, which we call in the colon, it does no digestion in the colon. The colon is just pretty much removing the water and stuff out of the leftover material and soliding it up and preparing it for voiding out of the organism. Natural hygiene. This is what we was talking about. We teach. Natural hygiene is a philosophy and lifestyle asserted by the study of all those factors and influences which affect our health. So, natural hygiene is the study of the air and how air. Natural hygiene is like the agricultural or horticulturist to plants. A good horticulture know the conditions required for roses to grow their best. And if the rose is getting sick, the horticulturists know what environmental condition or what is it lacking. Is it lacking clean water or whatever? They know this stuff. Well, we as natural hygienists, we know the conditions and the environmental needs of the human body, the human organism. And if an individual is come suffering, then we know how to, well, we'll know what the environmental condition is lacking, or the lifestyle habit that is not, you'll say, ideal or favorable, and it's causing their suffering. So natural hygiene is all those factors. All right. So natural hygiene is horticulture to the human organism. It knows the air that the body needs. It know that the body needs sunlight, sun exposure, need ideal food. It need cleanliness. It need nurturing relationships. It need regular movement. It need rest and sleep. It need emotional balance. All the conditions and means for health is under the umbrella of natural hygiene. Nutrition. Nutrition is the sum total of all body processes which interact to supply our nutritive needs. So the sum total of all body processes which interact to supply our nutritive needs. Now here we see that the body don't just need food. The body also need air. The body also need water. The body also needs sun exposure. So nutrition is the sum total of all the things that the body take in to replace its cells and tissue. So you want to make sure that you have the proper nutrition. And so if those four are nutrition, air, water, sun, and food, then you want to make sure that your nutrition is of the greatest value. So what is nutrition here again? Air, water, sun, and food. All right, so you want to make sure the air quality that you're getting is the best. You don't want it to be Febreze, air wick, candles, incense, or any other type of chemical poison that we're allowing to go into our organism. Because the human body only supposed to breathe in oxygen. Any other thing will interfere with its nutrition. We know that water, clean water, the cleanest water. We don't need water with anything in it. We don't need no mineralized water, none of the sophisticated water they got out here now, none of the Gatorade, Powerade, or any other aids. We need only pure clean water. H2O, nothing else, nothing more. All right, H2O, nothing less and nothing more. We don't need H21. We don't need H23. We don't need H59 or any other substance that can be combined to make something other than pure, clean H2O. All right. So we also know we need sunlight. All right. These sun tanning beds and all these unnatural lights that we have, they're not doing us any justice. But to go out there and bathe in the sun is the only justice we can receive and help us with nurturing our body. So that's proper nutrition, sun exposure. We also know the ideal food, So nutrition is just going to be food, sun, air, and water. And the last definition that we're going to give is putrefaction. All right, putrefaction is similar to decomposition or fermentation. Fermentation is when carbs break down unnaturally. But putrefaction is when proteins break down unnaturally. All right, so let's read it. The decomposition of proteins and their conversion by microorganisms to poisonous substances. So fermentation is when microorganisms and bacteria and all type of stuff come and eat away carbs, and they leave behind a poisonous waste substance. Enzymes eat and break down carbs into usable substances. Well, putrefaction is when microorganisms come and break down proteins into poisonous substances. Enzymes break proteins down into amino acids, usable substances. So proper digestion cannot be done properly if your food is rotting inside of you, because that's what putrefaction is, rotting. If your food is rotting or fermenting in your gut area, you having sour belching, you having a rumbling and tumbling, you having the really, we call it botulism. You're having the headaches, you're having the stabbing pains in your stomach, you're having the diarrhea, you're vomiting up your food. These foods are not digesting, and the body is getting rid of it because it's becoming toxic inside. Just because we eat food, don't mean that it's digesting. All right. So, especially in the manner we eat that food, there's so much to say about how we eat the food. Like I said, the manner of how we eat the food. We eat in a hurry. We don't chew up our food because you got to think about it. Digestion starts according to Pavlov, digestion starts in the mental. Looking at the food, smelling the food, your body already starting to prepare enzymes and all type of other stuff. But then the actual physical part of digesting food starts when you bite down on the food and you chew it up. You chewing an apple up into smaller pieces until it becomes liquefied. So that's the first breakdown. And then it goes down into your digestive, into the gastric chamber, gastric memory, meaning in the stomach. So when it gets down into the gastric chamber, now enzymes start beating down on it. All right, it's beating down on it. So it's turning into even smaller substances. Gastric digestion, depending on the food, usually lasts anywhere from an hour to 5 hours. With fruits, it's usually 30 minutes to 2 hours. When you start talking about breads and stuff like that, and starches, more complex starches, you're talking anywhere from 2 to 4 hours. When you start talking meats, you're talking well, five to 6 hours. But you're not going to really be having that digested unless you're eating it in the right combination. And I'm telling you, according to the standard American diet, or the standard of diet across the world right now, they're not eating in the right combination. Right? So they're going to be suffering a lot. All right. So let us do digestion explained. Digestion is defined as the process by which the complex materials of food are broken down into simpler substances in preparation for their entrance into the bloodstream. So, digestion is when our body is going to, or our digestive tract is going to, we're going to put something into the digestive tract, something solid, and the body is going to break that down into smaller substances so that it can go into the bloodstream. Remember what I say, a whole banana can't be found in the bloodstream. If you pull blood out of the arm, you're not going to see a banana come up out of there, an apple come out of there, nothing like that. All right, so the digestive tract breaks the substance down into something very simple that it can be absorbed and become blood. Now, proteins, during the breakdown, three primitive nutritive elements in our foodstuff are prepared. All right. Proteins. Proteins are broken down into various amino acids. All right. So you're going to get a little bit of scientific here. But protein, any type of protein you put in your body must be broken down into amino acids. Amino acids is the simple, all right, the simple part of protein. It's the actual Lego, the individual Lego. 10 Legos together, or 20 Legos together, or 40 Legos together make up a protein. Anytime you put one Lego with another Lego, you got one amino with another amino, you got a protein. When you put three together, you got a protein. The more you put together, the more complex the protein is. All right. And so enzymes have to come and take them Legos apart, take them apart, take it apart, take it apart, take it apart. That taking apart is digestion. The enzyme is breaking the amino acids apart from each other. Now that's natural digestion. But when these protein or these amino acids are fused together and there's no enzyme to take them apart, they're sitting there rotting. putrefy it. Now, think of putrefaction as like you leaving a steak on the counter in a bag where it's hot, dark, and you got water in the bag. All right. Now, what's going to start happening to that meat? Is it going to be broken down into amino acids? No, it's about to rot there. You're going to see maggots and all type of other microorganisms growing on the food and breaking the food down. And if you open that bag, it's going to be foul. That's putrefaction. That goes on in our stomach when we don't eat in the right manner, when we're eating foods in wrong combinations, when we're eating too often, when we're eating too many meats at a meal, or when we overeat, or when we drink with our foods. And it's a lot of conditions, combinations that hinder proper digestion. And we're going to talk about some of them before this show is over with. So make sure you keep your paper and pen handy. But we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back and we're going to finish this segment for you. We'll be right back. Thank you for sticking with us. I want to share something from Dr. Shelton. Dr. Shelton commented in his book, he said, as all physiologists are agreed that the character of the digestive juice secreted corresponds with the character of the food to be digested, and that each food calls for its own specific modification of the digestive juices. It follows as the night follows the day. So what he's saying there that all the physiologists, and physiologists, they study the function of the organs and tissues and every piece of the human body, how it actually functions. You ain't just looking at it as some type of television. It goes in and see how the television works. So physiologist goes in and find out how the stomach works, how the digestive tract works, how the human body works, how the liver works, how the kidney works. All right. So all physiologists, they agree that the character of digestive juices secreted. All right. So whenever you eat a piece of bread, the body produces enzymes to break down bread and it pours it out on the bread. If you eat a piece of, let's say, bacon, the body produces enzymes and pours that enzyme on that bacon to break down that bacon. So every item of food that you eat signals in your mouth as you're tasting it is sent to the brain to produce an enzyme in the gut, in the stomach, to break down this food. So that's why it's imperative that you chew your food up good and let it hit your taste buds where your brain can get a signal of what to produce and pour out on that in your stomach so it can digest it. So if you're chewing your food too quick, it's getting down in your stomach, then your brain ain't never got a signal. So it don't know what to sit down there. So the food sits there and rot. If you're not chewing the food up properly, you sending the whole apple down your stomach. The digestive tract can't digest no whole apple. And most people, they and let the food go down whole. That food sits there and rots. All right, so he's saying that every character of food requires their own digestive juice. Now, imagine if we're eating bread and bacon at the same meal, and your body have to pour out enzymes to digest the bread, and say that it's water, and say the enzyme to break down meat or the bacon is acidic. And if the body pours out water and acid to break down the bread and the bacon, well, what is the fluid going to be like if you pour water and acid together? The water is going to become a little more acidic, and the acid is going to become more weaker, more watery. So the strength of the acid is not going to meet the demand of the bacon, and the water is not going to be able to meet the demand of the bread. So the bread is not going to get digested, and the meat is not going to get digested. So when you eat two foods that are out of character, such as bread and meat, at the same meal, and the body have to produce two totally different juices to break them down, you're going to make it difficult for digestion. Food that sits in the stomach longer than necessary rots, ferments. All right. Now, if you don't know what fermentation is, refer to the dictionary. We gave you those a few minutes ago. If you're not familiar with putrefaction, refer to the definitions that we gave you a few minutes ago. So when you're eating bread and you're eating meat, and it's no way that those two can digest together. Now, if you notice that most of the foods that the standard American diet gives us is undigestible. You know, we eat lasagna. What is lasagna? It's pasta and meat and cheese. That's a carb and a protein. Both of those require two. Matter of fact, our American diet is full of so many food stuff at one meal. We conglomerate so many different stuff in one meal. We jam pack everything in one meal. We got sandwiches that got meat and bread. We got hot dogs. We got hamburgers. We got steak and potatoes. We got we got all kind of stuff here. We got the pizza, that are meat and bread combination. So we wondering why most of the people in America is suffering with acid reflux, indigestion. According to let's see, it says that here. It said, according to Victoria Bidwell, she said the fact that $2 billion are, and this is an old reference because this book was written back in way back. So I can imagine how much money is spent in this now. But at this time, she wrote that the fact that $2 billion, not million, $1 billion are spent annually, yearly on antacids in this country testifies to the need for such information as food combination. The discomforts of indigestion are so common among our people that it's almost considered normal. And the incidence of various diseases of the digestive tract are increasing at an alarming rate. Rather than use drugs to suppress the symptoms of indigestion, it would be wiser to remove the cause of the indigestion and then apply those practices which favor good digestion. Simple meals of compatible combinations are a significant factor in maintaining good digestion. All right. Now, there are the human digestive tract may be conveniently divided into three following cavities: the mouth, all right, the stomach, and the small intestine. All right. The conditions present in the mouth and stomach will be our primary concern. All right. We don't have much time here left. So we're going to be finishing up, and we're going to have our next show finish and teach you the combination principles. But right now, I'm trying to give you the rationale, try to talk you into this thing, show you the science behind it, why you should be doing this. And now, when I teach you what to do, you shouldn't have no rejection to it. But the ingestion factor. When food enters the mouth, it is masticated and mixed with saliva, thereby inhibiting the digestive process, actually initiating the digestive process. The taste buds are excited. They send impulses to the brain to signal the type of food ingested. If the food contains starch, then an enzyme called salivary amylase, or ptyalin, is secreted at this time. This enzyme is active only in the presence of starch. So when you have bread, you eat a piece of bread, potato, some other type of starch or sugar, and when it hits your taste buds, it sends a signal to your brain to send amylase to break it down. Because that's the only enzyme that can break carbs down into simple sugars. Amylase. Amylase is released, and amylase only going to act on carbs. It can't act on meat. Show you an example. If you put a piece of bread in your mouth, the bread will automatically start dissolving. Amylase is released in the mouth. That's why it's very important that you chew up your food and mix it with amylase, because the amylase is going to be dissolving it. So when you put bread in your mouth, it's dissolving right in your mouth. Now, you put a piece of meat in your mouth, that meat won't dissolve out of your mouth. It's going to stay in your mouth unless you chew it and swallow it. It's going to stay right there whole. It's not going to break down at all because amylase cannot break down meat. Now, after leaving the mouth, the food passes down the esophagus and into the stomach. Here, gastric juices are secreted. And when gastric juice is secreted, hydrochloric acid, pepsin, appears to break down protein. Now, when pepsin appears in the hydrochloric acid, then amylase cannot act anymore. It cannot act around protein. But imagine when we're eating bread and meats together all day long, and we're woofing it down. So that's causing a lot of our issues. So I'm going to stop here, and we're going to dig into this way deeper next week. I just hope you got a little taste of this, and it has you wanting to come back and learn more, where you can get rid of the indigestion, where you can get rid of the acid reflux, where you can get rid of the burning, the gastritis, get rid of all the issues or the diseases of the digestive system, all by properly eating properly. One of the main things our professor used to say, if you don't even have to get them to do all the other stuff of natural hygiene. But if you can get them to just do proper food combining, they're going to see a big difference in their health, and they're going to want to know more. So next week, we're going to give you those principles. So make sure you tune in, tell a friend, and bring them on in, where we can teach you the ways of health. If you need to get in contact with me, Savannah Natural Health at gmail.com, you can go to heal.me/FF and get in contact with me, and we can help guide you to a healthier lifestyle. Best of health and happiness from Savannah Natural Health, and we'll see you next week.
success.